Okay, we're ready. Welcome everybody to the regular meeting of the San Mateo County Board of Supervisors for Tuesday, May 24th, 2016. Would you please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Roll call.
Supervisor Pine? Here. Supervisor Groom?
Present.
Supervisor Horsley?
Here.
Supervisor Ticia?
Here.
President Slocum?
Here. Thank you. We'll move on now to public comment. I have several cards here. First speaker is Martin Fox, followed by Brent Turner.
Good morning, President Slocum, members of the board, my fellow veteran, Mr. Maltby, and County Council, Mr. Byers. Thank you for your service to the county. Please help the persons and family members of persons living with serious mental illness who lack the capacity to seek treatment voluntarily and who are already known by the health systems to have a need, like Errol Chang and Yanero Serrano were known, get access to Lawyers Law Services now without further delay. San Francisco's failed Come and Get It implementation of Lawyers Law produced only 49 referrals between November last year and March this year. This is best understood as being consistent with their Department of Public Health Director's statement that, quote, based on national data, it is expected that fewer than 100 individuals in San Francisco will meet criteria for the AOT program, in a posting on the department's website in July of 2014. In other words, San Francisco's sham Come and Get It implementation of Lawyers Law is being used to perpetuate intellectually bankrupt and immoral policies and procedures used to deny treatment to persons living with serious mental illness who present challenging needs. Unfortunately, San Mateo County's Behavioral Health and Recovery Services announced its implementation would be similar to San Francisco's Come and Get It implementation in its Wellness Matters publication earlier this month. Like San Francisco's Department of Public Health, San Mateo County Health Systems already has access to electronic records that can identify persons living with serious mental illness who have treatment resistance and noncompliance histories, and they can do it right now. Setting up a toll-free number and waiting for the phone to ring merely delays addressing the needs of what are commonly known as frequent flyers and their family members. Please direct a Go and Get Them implementation of Lawyers Law that proactively addresses the needs of persons and family members of persons living with serious mental illness who lack the capacity to seek treatment voluntarily and who are already known to the health system to have a need, and reject San Francisco's failed Come and Get It implementation approach. Thank you.
Brent Turner, followed by, is it Rachel Meyer?
Good morning, Supervisors. My name is Brent Turner. I'm representing the California Association of Voting Officials. I've come before you many times previous, and the reason for my appearance here today is there was recently a letter generated from the New Hampshire Secretary of State, which I think is being passed in front of you now. This particular letter highlights the benefits of the implemented open source voting system that is being pioneered by New Hampshire. Secretary of State Bill Gardner is giving rave reviews on the system's efficiency, and of course, as you know, we've made mention here previous regarding the security benefits of an open source system versus the corporate-owned software code systems currently in use in San Mateo, and also the cost efficiency, which we're projecting to be approximately 50% of the cost of a vendor-sold system. These publicly owned systems are being advocated by many civil rights groups across the country. As I've mentioned to you previous, we've been working with good help and assistance from Congresswoman Anna Eshoo. We've been working directly with the White House, what's called the White House Playbook, which is regarding open source. Even Congressman Darrell Issa has stood up to move open source into the United States House of Representatives. So this is something that the Microsoft lobbyists are working double time to keep at bay. My point to this esteemed group and to Registrar Mark Church is that standing in place and being silent on this issue is not good risk management. The best approach, in my opinion, is to get together with San Francisco County, who recently allocated $300,000 for the start of this project, and start the conversation regarding the future of election system technology. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Turner. Rachel Meyer, followed by Beth Springer.
Good morning. I'm Rachel Meyer with Curiosity, and I'm here in support of the extended of the lease between the County of San Mateo and Curiosity. We've been in partnership for over 50 years, and I'm here to thank you and support a public benefit for all of San Mateo County. We provide science for kids. We believe that science is a core competency and that you need to start early and make it engaging. And I'd just like to read a couple quotes from some of our visitors. One parent said, "One of my favorite Bay Area museums is Curiosity. Curiosity is a kid-friendly environmental science and wildlife center housing more than 50 non-releasable animals native to the area. Even if you don't have a child when you go, you'll experience that wonder, that sense of wonder all kids feel when they see the animal life and the landscape presented in just this way. The Science Museum in the beautiful Coyote Point Park recreation area does it just right." And another parent, "The hands-on exhibits can show the forces of nature, like the riverbed exhibit that shows water flow and erosion, or backyard science experiments that expand your vision and hearing. It definitely makes my kids curious about and wanting more information about science." And lastly, "I am convinced the experiences my children had at Curiosity helped them become better thinkers and people. From the camps to the classes to the freedom to explore, it all helped build their brains and build their compassion about animals and to care for the world around them." Thank you so much.
Thank you. Beth Springer. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Beth Springer. I'm a longtime San Mateo resident, a business person, and a huge fan of our local treasure, Curiosity, where I also serve as a trustee. Curiosity is a wonderful place for our children and families to have fun and learn together. If you've ever been there with your child or with a grandchild, I hope you've seen the wonder in their eyes as they play in the gardens, observe the animals, and tinker with our many exhibits. As Rachel Meyer, our executive director, said, this is a place where children become curious and they learn. And here on the doorsteps of Silicon Valley, there's no better place for a world-class facility for fun and science learning that inspires the young. And it's important for us to remember that Curiosity is a place for everyone in San Mateo and beyond. There's no long drive to San Francisco or San Jose for this day of fun and learning. There's no expensive parking. The entry price is affordable. And more than 30% of the programming is free or reduced so that everybody has access to the wonders of Curiosity. I'd like to thank the council and all those who came before you who had the foresight to partner with the founders of what was then the Coyote Point Museum for Education and the Environment, or science, something like that, and now Curiosity. You created a wonderful institution, and we hope you will continue to partner with us and invest so this can grow and become a truly world-class playground for science. Thank you.
Thank you. The last speaker card I have is Harvey Blight.
Before he gets up there, I just want to point out, I take my granddaughter to Curiosity all the time, so she loves it.
I don't know who in here besides me is the most guilty, but I don't like the way this county is run. I never have, and I probably never will. I'm supposed to be a vexatious litigant. Maybe that's because my last name is Blight. I don't know. Mr. Slocum.
Yes.
What was your office before you became a board in this county? What was your office? May I ask?
No.
Oh, well, that's a sample of what we get every day. At least I get. From Mr. Byers, from the district attorney, Mr. Wagstaff, and probably from the rest of you. Don, I know a little bit about. He has ignored me, the same as Byers has, and others. I don't think this is a place where I get equal protection of the law. I am not a vexatious litigant, even though I'm entitled to be that, based on how this county has treated me for 45 years. When I bought my property for cash here, my property tax was something like $90 a year. Now, thanks to this board and others, it's now $1,300 a year. I've been here 45 years. A lot of you haven't been here that long. That's a 90% increase in my taxes. I'm 79, and Mr. Slocum, Mr. Byers, Mr. Wagstaff are still not done prosecuting me for anything they can find to prosecute me for. You can read the complaint from the DA by just going to the DA and seeing if you can get a copy, if he'll allow you to have one. Anyhow, I'm not vexatious. I'm here to declare that. And I am tired of Mr. Slocum's conduct. Mr. Horsley, I might give you a little more time, but I don't feel your conduct is proper either, because you should have thrown him out a long time ago. And the rest of you as well. So anyhow, I think my 2 minutes is about up. That's what I wanted to say, and the rest I'll put in documents.
Your 2 minutes is up.
Thank you, sir.
Next speaker is Nancy Spencer.
And President Slocum, if I may, I think that, certainly Mr. Blight has a First Amendment right to speak here today, and he has certainly exercised that. But I think any assertion that he's been ignored is so far from the truth. In fact, it's quite the opposite. As he's alluded to, my office had to take a very, frankly, extraordinary action in going to court to get him declared a vexatious litigant because of his decades of abuse of county employees. Over some very flagrant code enforcement issues involving his property. So, it's decades of county resources and abuse of county employees, which culminated in a restraining order against Mr. Blight for using hate language against a particular county employee. And ultimately, the courts agreed and declared him a vexatious litigant, and he's no longer able to file any more lawsuits in Superior Court because they were meritless and abusive. It was abuse of justice. So, finally, justice has prevailed against Mr. Blight, and so I just want to point that out for the record, because he did make some very, I thought, inappropriate comments today.
Thank you, Mr. Byers.
May I respond, Board?
No.
I didn't think so.
Let's see here. Nancy Spencer.
Thank you. Good morning. My name is Nancy Spencer, and I'm here to speak in support of Curiosity and the extension of the lease with Curiosity. I've been a San Mateo County resident for 16 years, and I've served on the Board of Trustees of Curiosity for 8 years. I have been honored there to be involved in the design process for the renovation. I chaired that process and worked in partnership with stakeholders, including the county staff, to define the future program needs for Curiosity and to plan our very exciting new renovation and work with our award-winning green architects who we located in a national search. It's been a real joy to work on this project and to envision all of the ways that Curiosity is going to be able to serve more county children. We're an environmental organization. We're living those environmental values by reusing our materials of the building to the greatest extent possible, working within our existing footprint. I'm particularly proud of the way that Curiosity has extended its reach to underserved communities and schools. Science education is not a luxury good. It should be available to all students in the county, and we are an essential partner with the County Office of Education, with teachers, with schools, with parents. We look forward to continuing that work in the future. So I thank you for your partnership with Curiosity, and we look forward to continuing that relationship in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Tara Samuels. Is Tara here? Yep.
Hi, my name is Tara Samuels, and I am a mom of 2 and also a Curiosity board member. And I have taken my children many times, spent many hours at Curiosity, where they were able to play with science and learn and explore animals. As a board member, I was really happy to have the opportunity to give back to this incredible organization. And one of Curiosity's missions and my mission is to bring science to more children and make curiosity more accessible. One of the reasons why we spent so much time there is it's the perfect place to spend one morning or one afternoon. It is so accessible. It's right there in our backyards. And this is an incredible opportunity we have right now to bring it to more people, to expose more children to curiosity. And one of the programs I'm so proud about is our outreach we've been doing. And we bring curiosity to the underserved and bring the underserved to curiosity. And imagine what more we could do with more of a property in place and more of a foundation. We have an incredible leader, Rachel Meyer, who has assembled an amazing team. We have wonderful programming with camps that sell out at midnight when they go online, which I found out at 8 o'clock the next morning when I couldn't get my kids into camp. And there's more that can be done if we invest in science and invest in our future. And I'm hoping you guys will be on board with us and join us in those efforts. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Clerk, I don't have any more speaker cards. Do you?
I don't either.
Okay, very good. Then we'll move on to set the agenda.
Chair, I would like to defer item 3 to our next meeting when our honoree will be in attendance.
Okay, we'll move item 3 to the next meeting.
Mr. Slocum, I would move approve the consent calendar as well as set the agenda minus item number 3.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
If I might just add, I want to thank the folks from Curiosity for being here today. It truly is a wonderful partnership between the county and Coyote Point Park and Curiosity, and the renewal of the lease will go a long way toward making their efforts a little more secure.
Thank you. Item number 1 on the presentations and awards section is a presentation by the University of California Cooperative Extension. Supervisor Horsley.
Well, thank you, President Slocum. Just let me welcome Dr. Virginia Bolshakova. She is the county director of the UC Cooperative Extension, and she's back to give us an update on their work. And as you know, we have contributed some of our Measure A money to actually some of the projects that Dr. Bolshakova is working on. I just want to point out that she actually grew up in the Midwest on a farm. Her parents still have a 450-acre farm, and what they grow are heritage grains. And in any case, the extension has become an excellent partner to the county since Virginia joined 2 years ago. And like I just mentioned about her personal family background of farming and her deep academic knowledge has resulted in really a re-energized organization that really is a great resource for our entire community. And I have to say, and I think you'll share with me, we've found her enthusiastic, energetic, and also to be a visionary. She's really a pleasure to work with. So the county partners with UC Cooperative Extension through our health department, our ag department, and actually through my office on a variety of projects. So I'm going to just turn it over to Virginia.
Last name.
What's that? Yes.
Thank you, Board, for having me here today. It's my pleasure to be here and just to tell you a little bit more about who we are, what we're doing, and how your support has really helped us to leverage the work that we are working on in the community. So just a bit of a reminder, UC Cooperative Extension in San Mateo County, we focus on agriculture, natural and human resource development in our spaces. We work to bridge the university and the local community together on finding science-based solutions to challenges that we have around us. Our motto is we have something to offer everyone in San Mateo County along these lines. And in this picture here, you can see about 60% of our team there out at Elkis Ranch looking over the Parisima Valley. We've got a hardworking, passionate group of people, very knowledgeable, serving this great county. And so if you look at the checklist, and I handed off some folders with more information, Here's just a little sample of some of the things that we do, and I'm about to give you guys a fire hose of information and some of the work we're doing in each county or each district. So everything from showing adults and children how to grow fruit and vegetables, demonstrations of food canning and preservation techniques, teaching children and adults how to cook nutritious food and shop on a budget, doing educational and research programs with local schools and agencies, helping arborists and homeowners protect trees, teaching how to control insects in a safe manner, reducing pesticide use in the environment, and ultimately, again, bridging UC research and local communities as problem-solving centers. We do more than that as well, and here are some of our key community programs that you may know about. Elkus Ranch, since 1975, we have had a space to teach environmental education as well as agriculture education. We see about 10,000 children every year at the Coastal Ranch south of Half Moon Bay. About 30% of the children that come and visit are on full scholarships to come see the programs. The Cal Naturalist program, it's a new emerging program. A lot of the environmental stewards that are here, we give them a venue for which to, have community and their passions to support the environment and cherish it. The 4-H Youth Development Program, although it's a youth development program, we see it very much as a adult and community program where we have youth-adult partnerships working on projects together on interests that range from robotics to animal husbandry to cooking to you name it. Kids drive that work. We have nutrition education programs, our Master Gardener program, the Master Food Preserver program, as well as a new and emerging Healthy Living Ambassador program, which I'll talk a little bit more specifically as we move through each district. We're also scientists. So with Cooperative Extension, here's our team of scientists that serve San Mateo County. Sheila Berry, she's a livestock and natural resource advisor. Dr. Andrew Sutherland focuses on urban pest management, so working on structural pests, things that are in our schools and our child care centers. My focus is, as Supervisor Horsley mentions, on agroecology, focusing on environmental sustainability while also producing food. How can we make those two things work together? We have an urban ag advisor, Dr. Igor Lachin, who's in our office as well as an urban forestry advisor. And then new to our cooperative extension here is Dr. Wei-Ting Chen. She's going to be starting with the San Mateo office this September. She's currently serving as a chief scientist at the CDC. We're very excited to have her come join our board. So, just to go through each district quickly here and give you a taste of what we're doing in all of your spaces. Here in the upper right-hand corner, you can see Alexander Davis. He's one of our San Bruno 4-H Club members. He's leading youth through a Lego robotics programming project at the Maker Faire, which recently happened just over the weekend. I think a lot of our programs really are inspiring that creativity and making mentality. That's kind of what Cooperative Extension does. Down in the center, you can see the Broadway and Burlingame. Dr. Igor Lachin has been working with the city there to help identify, diagnose, and manage fire blight and those beloved trees that go on the roadways. And then also working with residents throughout all the county, I've been working with a lot of the beekeepers on developing backyard best management practices for beekeeping, as well as a way to do coordinated surveys to learn more about why our bee populations are declining. All of these efforts are working with community members, connecting them directly to the scientific process and trying to find solutions together that make sense locally as well as scientifically. In District 2, you can see some of the youth in the upper right-hand corner working on the 4-H Million Trees project. This was a project you've heard about before. One of our 4-H youth members saw the inconvenient truth, and it inspired her to take action. And since 2009, they've planted over 2 million trees, not just in California, but across the world. This project started here in San Mateo County and is now in over 6 different countries. It started by a youth member in our 4-H program. Below that, Dr. Andrew Sutherland's teaching a Bay Area Healthy Schools Act course, which is teaching practitioners how to reduce pesticide use and keep spaces safe when managing pests and child care centers and schools. Below that, our Master Gardeners program. They do so much work from teaching people how to use water wisely in the landscape to reduce pesticides, how to grow food, all these things. And District 3, you can see in the upper right-hand corner, we have Damon George. He's one of our Healthy Living ambassadors who's born and raised in El Granada. Here he's working with a child in the Healthy Living Ambassador program, teaching children how to grow vegetables in their back schoolyards. These are often spaces that have limited resources to actually have educational programming. And then what this program has done is brought teens to the center as being the resource and really driving these school gardens. And so science, nutrition, and leadership are all the focal points here. This program started in San Mateo 2 years ago, and now it's going to be rolled out in the next year in San Bernardino County, Riverside County, and LA counties. So work started here, initiated and supported by the county, moving elsewhere. In the middle, Sheila Berry, she has worked on conservation as well as guidelines for producing hogs. And down in Pescadero, this is an emerging economy. This is just some pictures from a workshop that she gave. Below that picture outside of Elkis Ranch, we recently had a livestock protection workshop. At this workshop, we had stakeholders from every side of the fence, livestock growers, conservationists concerned about pumas in our natural landscapes, as well as scientists, land managers, all come together to try to work together on finding solutions to have both sustainable carnivore populations as well as livestock operations. Below, here in District 4, you can see our FNEP, our Expanded Food Nutrition Education Program, TAP. It's a teenage parent program that teaches young new parents how to select and prepare nutritious food on a budget. A lot of these parents at Redwood High School, it's the first time they've seen some of this information before. Below that, the Ecumenical Hunger Program. We have other gardening and education programming going on as well, with children growing food, preparing it, harvesting it, and with the Master Food Preserver Program, then preserving it for days to come. And then Rob Benetton below is giving a workshop there on trying to help communities reclaim, there's my time, reclaim some contaminated soils that have high levels of lead so they can be used in production areas. Do I need to wrap this up? I'm sorry, I'm going a little bit over.
Go ahead, yeah.
Okay, sorry about that. Just a couple more here. So up in the right-hand corner, we were able to get funds from Disney Conservation Fund to give scholarships to 150 children last year out at Elkis Ranch. Kids that would typically not be able to have access to a day camp for a week were able to come out for an entire week, have lunch, have transportation to experience a living, working ranch. And continued work you guys can read in the presentation below. So your partnership is absolutely essential. As Supervisor Horsley mentioned, both the board, the Ag Commissioner, as well as the Health Department are huge supporters of what we're doing. Our 2 offices, over 33 staff, 7 community-based programs, thousands of people we reach. 15% of our budget comes from San Mateo County. And you can just see how those dollars are matched, both from federal funds, grant funds, the university funds, and endowment dollars income that we're trying to support our $1.8 million budget that runs all of the work that we do. As well, not included in that budget are one-line items that do come from the university. Currently at Elkis Ranch, we're going through a major updating of our water system that's now over 25 years old. It's $175,000 infusion for just that project, as well as a master planning effort that's re-envisioning what Elkis does and how it can be a greater access to the community. So that's not part of that budget listed before. So I just want to thank you for your time here today. I'm sorry I went over a little bit. There's always a lot to cover. And I want to give you my appreciation for all of your support in making this happen. So we hope that we're able to continue to develop and do good work here in San Mateo County for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Virginia.
Just, she has done a remarkable job in 2 years and made a difference in the entire county. It wasn't just the coast; it's every every part of San Mateo County. She has made a significant difference. And I've had the opportunity to judge a couple of contests from 4-H, and they're not necessarily, animal focused. And I've just been so impressed with the leadership of the young people who are involved in the program. So thanks for all that you do. I think you've done a wonderful job.
Thank you so much. Thanks for your time, and we have a great team. We work together all throughout the county, so thank you very much.
Virginia. Thank you. Okay, item number 2 is a presentation of a proclamation designating June 2nd as San Mateo County Disaster Service Worker Awareness Day. Supervisor Tissier.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. You just did the first line for me, so now we know what this is all about. But this Disaster Service Worker Awareness Day encourages San Mateo County employees to have disaster preparedness plans at home and in the workplace. And a team was formed, and I don't know that I'll go through this whole resolution or proclamation because I think we're going to have a presentation. If I do that, you'll probably hear it all before they make the presentation. But I'd like to make a motion to approve the proclamation as San Mateo County Disaster Service Worker Awareness Day for June 2nd.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And I'd like to present this to our Deputy County Manager, Reina Forales, and I know she's going to give us a presentation on what this day is going to be like.
Thank you, Supervisor Tissier. Good morning, board members, Mr. Maltby, Mr. Byers. My name is Reina Forales, Deputy County Manager, and on behalf of the county's emergency response coordinators, I want to thank you for this proclamation. So by state law and county ordinance, all public employees are disaster service workers, and that means that they may be required to report in for duty in the event of an actual emergency in the county or near where they live. Last year, around this time, we had our very first emergency response awareness day for all employees out here in the quad, and we had educational booths in the emergency command vehicle, and people had tours during that day. And all of this is in an effort to educate all of our county employees that they are disaster service workers. And subsequent to that, we also held training for all of our floor leaders and provided them with emergency go bags in the event that we have to evacuate. And in October of last year, we had our very first countywide earthquake drill, the Great Shakeout, and we were able to evacuate within 35 minutes all the county facilities. And so this year, our event will be held on June 2nd. That's next Thursday from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. here at County Center. We will have educational booths as well as the vehicle tours. Our employees can sign up for CPR training and can also sign up for ham radio training. And we'll also have a barbecue meal for the first 200 employees that complete all the educational activities and pass a quiz to see if they know how to be disaster service workers.
We get the questions in advance. Yeah.
There will be an open book test, yes. And then later this year, we are kicking off our Big 5 training for the county, and we want to show the video to you today. I want to thank Supervisor Tissier and Horsley for their leadership in the Big 5, which is a coalition between the county and the schools. So with that, I am going to ask Suki, please play the video.
One example of San Mateo County's collaborative spirit is our ongoing countywide efforts to enhance the safety of our schools and their surrounding communities. Ensuring safe schools should not be the sole responsibility of schools. It takes all of us working together. For nearly 2 years now, our local leaders in government, public safety, education, and healthcare, as well as other community members, have been working to strengthen policies and practices that result in safer schools and communities.
One notable outcome of these efforts so far is the release of the Big 5, a set of 5 core emergency response protocols for schools to implement in any kind of emergency.
The Big 5 has won the endorsement of the San Mateo County Sheriff in every single one of our municipal police chiefs. It was recently adopted by the San Mateo County Office of Education and will be implemented in all 23 of our local school districts in the fall of 2014.
The Big Five is proof positive that together we're better.
And San Mateo County wouldn't have it any other way.
This is a first of series of videos for parents to learn about the Big Five. Parents play a vitally important role in a school's emergency response, and the first step is all about learning.
And now we need you to do your part. Watch the video, download the Big Five community packet, talk to your children about their understanding, and be part of the team that keeps our kids safer so they can keep growing smarter.
San Mateo County's leaders believe wholeheartedly that our schools are safe places, but it's no accident. Safe schools require diligent attention to details, practice, and common understandings about the most effective ways to respond in any given emergency. The Big Five, the new county-wide protocol for San Mateo schools, consists of 5 immediate actions that staff and students will take in any given emergency. The Big Five protocols are: shelter in place, drop cover and hold on, secure campus,
you need to come in now,
lockdown barricade, and evacuation.
Implementing the Big Five countywide is a big deal, and it means we can also teach the language and the protocols to parents, other members of the community, and even the media. That establishes the foundation for clear and effective communication, which we all know is paramount in any emergency situation. Common language, common protocols, common training. It all adds up to common sense.
In the event of an emergency at your child's school, the principal or other office staff will communicate with families about the actions the school is taking to keep children safe. It is important for parents and other family and friends to understand what these actions are. Following are the terms and descriptions of the Big Five, the 5 immediate action responses your child's school will implement in an emergency. As is the case in all emergencies, parents must remain calm and trust that school officials will quickly act to ensure the safety of all students. Shelter in place. Shelter in place protects students from environmental threats such as smoke from a distant fire or the presence of wildlife on school grounds, such as a swarm of bees. Shelter in place requires that all students remain indoors with doors and windows closed. Teachers will continue with classroom instruction, or if shelter in place occurs during recess or break time, teachers and staff will supervise indoor play and indoor activities. Drop, cover, and hold on. Drop, cover, and hold on is how students and staff will respond to an earthquake, explosion, or other event causing falling debris or breaking glass. When a school implements drop, cover, and hold on, students will drop to the floor, duck under a sturdy desk or table, cover their head with one arm, and hold onto the furniture with the other until the shaking stops. In the event of a mild earthquake with no damage to school buildings, students will likely remain indoors. If a stronger earthquake causes damage to the building itself, students and staff will evacuate to an agreed-upon safe location. Secure campus. Secure campus is a precautionary measure against a possible danger or crime occurring in the surrounding community. This precaution is similar to locking one's front door at night. In a secure campus response, all classroom and office doors are locked, and everyone must remain indoors. But classroom learning continues. When a school is in a secure campus status, parents can rest assured that students are safe and sound. Lockdown barricade. When there is a serious threat of violence on the school grounds, staff will immediately implement lockdown barricade to ensure students are protected from danger. All doors are locked, and teachers will create a barricade using classroom furniture and other objects. During lockdown barricade, all teachers and staff will devote 100% of their attention to preserving quiet and calm in the classroom. No one is allowed to enter or exit a lockdown classroom until law enforcement and school administration deem it is safe to evacuate. Evacuation. When it is deemed unsafe for students to remain inside the school building, students will be directed to evacuate the building to a designated safe site, either on the campus itself or to a predetermined off-site location. Teachers and staff will escort students to the evacuation location, and once there, will take roll to account for the presence of all students. Teachers and staff will then continue to supervise for all students until each child is safely reunited with parents or guardians.
So we will be using this video as part of our training of all of our employees. And this year, each employee will also get a personal emergency bag, so in case we need to call them in for a 12-hour operating period, they can pack their medication and other personal items that they need. And they'll also be getting the brochure. I passed out a brochure, the DSW brochure, as well as they should carry these with their ID badges. This is a disaster service worker ID card that they can show when they report to duty. So all of this will happen this year, in addition to more training. And again, we'll be practicing drop, cover, hold on, and evacuation on October 20th for the Great Shakeout. So I want to thank all of you for your leadership and support of the County Emergency Response Coordinators, and we hope to see you next Thursday. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Raina. We're also going to be rolling out the Big Five at Disaster Preparedness Day, so that we're going to continue to make sure people have it first and foremost, and we're also providing a magnet for people in English and Spanish that actually spells this all out. They can keep it on their refrigerator so they get reinforce the message. So thank you. Thank you, Raina, for all your hard work.
Thank you, Raina. Item 3 was postponed, and we'll move to item 4, a presentation regarding agile organization.
Mr. President, members of the board, I'll lead the presentation off, and then Donna and her staff will follow up. As the board may recall, when it adopted the Agile program 3 years ago, it determined that we were to periodically evaluate the program and to provide the board with updates on that evaluation, which we've done, as well as complete a comprehensive 3-year evaluation. The purpose of adopting the Agile workforce as a model for the county was to ensure that there was a design of a flexible and financially stable staffing structure for the county that could attract and retain a talented workforce, and that would have continued to meet the evolving needs of the community. So why Agile? Well, obviously from a workforce standpoint, we understand that there were some very powerful forces that were driving the need to take a hard look at the model that was used to staff government and provide services in the future. Beginning with the workforce requirements, clearly we're in a unique period of time. In fact, at least in my memory, and I suspect for much longer than that, there's been no time when a workforce has actually included 5 different generations within the same workforce. And that's what we have today in San Mateo County and in the general workforce. Obviously, with so many different generations, there are many different needs from a worker's perspective. They have very different connections to technology and, of course, expectations of what they want from their employer. Clearly, as the board is aware, we're also seeing changing demands and expectations on the part of county government. And in part, these demands and expectations are a result of technology and the various capabilities that this technology provides in meeting the needs of the public. Certainly, as the board is aware, we continue to live in an age from county government perspective where our revenue is unpredictable and continues to change, and we're confronted with that not only every year as you review the budget, but certainly mid-year. Both the demands on government are continually changing, as are the resources to meet those demands. And so an Agile workforce really begins to try to address those questions of what we do and how we go about doing it. Also, of course, we live in a time, and our presidential election is probably an accurate reflection of that, where we see continued falling confidence in government and the inability of government, from the perspective of many people, to meet the needs that are most critical to them in their own lives. And so looking at our workforce, looking at how we provide those services is certainly a way at our level to try to deliver those services when they're needed, in the right place at the right time, and in the right level of service, so that that confidence in government, at least at the county level, can be retained. Finally, we know, as John Kennedy once said, that change is the law of life, and those who only look to the past or present are certain to miss the future. If you think about the structure of county government, much of how we have been organized really goes back to the 1930s, and much of government in general. And certainly the use of an agile workforce as one of the components of delivering services and structuring our workforce is an attempt to be able to meet the modern and evolving needs of government to deliver service in a prompt and cost-effective way.
Good morning, honorable members of the board, Mr. Maltby and Mr. Byers. As John mentioned, there are now 5 generations in the workplace, and with that comes changing attitudes. Studies say that millennials will change jobs 11 times over their working lives. But Agile is also about choice. Our changing workforce wants more choices as they progress through their career arcs. Skills and interests change, their professional priorities change, and as a leading employer, the county wants choices as well. We want to accommodate a wider variety of talented individuals that are interested in public service and can contribute to our organization in different capacities at any age, any experience level, and also for any length of time. So to illustrate the demographic, I think this is pretty powerful. This is where we were 5 years ago in terms of the generations. You can see that the largest percentage of our workforce was baby boomers, followed closely by Gen X's. Fast forward 5 years, and you look at our millennials now make up 26.8% of our workforce. Baby boomers are now at 31%, and Gen X is at 39%. So with those workforce changes, workforce preferences change as well. This is kind of the model we're all used to, right? The 20th century model: security, consistency, loyalty, waiting for that gold watch after 30 or 40 years of service. But the conception of work in this day and age is really away from lifetime employment, especially in a single organization, and towards a varied path that may include experience in multiple sectors. The future includes a different employee-employer value proposition. You give us your skills for amount of time, we will contribute to your employability, kind of like the military tour of duty model. Some employees may come from for a term, love it here, and decide to stay and compete for regular positions. Others will make their contributions, and after a few years they will leave. And I have a perfect example of that in the audience. We have Jeffrey Liu, who was hired by the county to staff the Agile Organization Initiative. So he came to us several years ago. He worked, made valuable contributions on this project. We couldn't have done it without him. And then the project is over, and now he has gone on to Senator Jerry Hill's office to be a field rep. So again, a perfect example of an Agile employee. We're also seeing an increase in what we call boomerang employees. Those are employees that come for a certain amount of time, they leave, and then they come back. So Jeffrey, you're welcome to become a boomerang employee. Okay, so what did we do? We created a menu of work options. This menu increases departmental flexibility, and it allows departments, again, to have choices in how they staff their programs and services. Having this menu of options has been extremely valuable in staffing the various Measure A initiatives where we've wanted to mobilize very quickly. It also allows the county as an organization to better adapt to the changing attitudes of the modern workforce. So we've made significant progress with our limited term work delivery model. As of this month, we have 160 term employees working in 16 different departments. Throughout the pilot, we've surveyed both the term employees and their supervisors to find out their experience as well as the impact. What we heard from the employees is that term employees that meaningful work is really and job experience is what attracted them to the county. They also stated that it's been helpful in furthering their careers, and for those that want to stay, it helped them get a foot in the door. When we surveyed their supervisors, we heard they're making an impact, whether it's addressing a significant backlog of work, starting a new project, or filling in. Next year, you will hear via video from our Chief of the Health System, Louise Rogers, on how limited term employees are benefiting the health system.
I was really pleased when Donna asked me to talk about how the limited term employees have benefited the health system, because I think we've been one of the largest users of term employees, and it's because we've been really jazzed by the opportunity. There have been a lot of really great results. One of the things that term employees have allowed us to do is respond really quickly to the kinds of challenges that arise in our environment in a very short time frame. So, in one example, we learned in December from the state that we would have to comply with these very onerous state requirements by February. And that's the sort of thing that in the old system would have been really challenging to respond. Frankly, I don't know that we could have responded by February, but using limited term employees, we were able to respond very quickly. And that's an example of the kind of project that we face often, which is we don't really know long-term what will be needed to get the job done, but we do know that we need to respond right away. Otherwise, in the case that I'm describing, client services and provider services would have been jeopardized. So it was really imperative. But the other thing is, we've really been able to mobilize around pilot opportunities for new services. And there again, we don't always know long-term what the opportunity will be, but there's an opportunity that arises in the near term to try something out. And limited term employees allow us to do that. So other things that have really been unexpected rewards of the term employees system are, number one, we've been able to create promotional opportunities for our staff using term positions. And in that model, we have a permanent employee who has the opportunity to work out of class in a promotional opportunity for some period of time, gain additional skills, gain knowledge, and also gain preparation for permanent opportunities that come up later. So it's really become a development tool for permanent staff. And that was something we hadn't expected, but actually it's turned out to be a great model, and we've used it many times. And some of those folks have already gone on to permanent opportunities. Term employees have really become a great way for us in the health system to engage people, to work with us on projects, help them develop their skills and abilities, but then it becomes kind of a pipeline for permanent opportunities when those jobs open. And then we have people already in the mix who know our system, who know our programs, who know our processes, who have great ability to apply for permanent jobs when those become available. So we've had a lot of that connectivity, and that's been a great thing. We're really excited about it, and we're really pleased to be a part of this effort.
Thank you, Louise. Oscar-worthy performance. So fellows are another part of our menu of options. They allow the county to attract graduate candidates with specializations that really benefit us with different complex assignments and initiatives. We have partnerships with San Francisco State, UC Berkeley, Stanford, Santa Clara, and San Jose State. These relationships give us access to talent. We're able to host info sessions at the universities and really get the students excited about coming to work for the county. This past fellowship period of time, we had 16 fellowship opportunities, and we had over 350 applicants. And the departments, in many cases, are doubling the number of fellows because of the quality of the candidate pool. Fellowship, again, opportunities are an effective way to source talent and identify future leaders. And now I'd like to ask Rolando to come up and talk about his fellowship experience.
Well, good morning, President Slocum, honorable members of the board, Mr. Maltby, Mr. Byers. I want to briefly comment on my experience in the Management Fellowship Program. First, I would like to say that it has truly been an amazing experience working for the county. I was fortunate to be selected to the county's Management Fellowship Program nearly a year ago. My first 6 months with the county consisted of learning more about San Mateo County and working with 2 departments. More specifically, I worked for both the Parks Department and the County Manager's Office. I was given the opportunity to work on both analytical assignments and informational reports for the Parks Department. I was also responsible for managing and reporting on the department's performance measures and benchmark measures and procedures for fiscal year 2014-2015. In terms of the County Manager's Office, I helped draft requests for proposals, contracts, and reports involving data analysis. In addition to gaining meaningful and hands-on experience, the fellowship program allowed fellows to participate in Civics 101, a county program that provides all participants with an in-depth look at county programs, services, and finances. Management fellows were also urged to conduct informational interviews with department heads. I enjoyed my conversations with several department directors and appreciated the advice that they offered me. Overall, I strongly believe that my experience in the fellowship program provided me the skills that are needed for a successful career in local government. In my current role as a management analyst within the Budget Policy and Performance Unit, I am managing the budgets and performance of a few departments, including Parks and Planning and Building. Once again, I'm very thankful to have been given the opportunity to realize my goals and contribute to the county's ability to serve its community. I especially thank the board, John Maltby, Marlene Finley, Jim Sacco, and Donna Valancourt for supporting the fellowship program. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rolando. So internships represent another piece of the menu of our work options. They're a great way to attract new talent as well as folks re-entering the workforce. And we look at them really as an investment in the county's future. You'll see that from 14 to 15, there was a 39% increase in the number of internships in the county. And I think this summer we'll hit well over 200. In fact, the last 2 days we've been helping the library onboard 150 high school and college students for their summer programming. This year we're also piloting the Student Consultants Program, which offers internship opportunities to current SF State MPA students. These students get to work alongside the County Manager's Office and conduct program evaluations as part of their academic experience. We're also very grateful that your board approved additional funding, Measure A funding for the STEP program for emancipated foster youth. This next video features Leslie, our STEP intern coordinator, and Iris, one of our STEP interns.
Hi, my name is Iris Tan. I work for HSA ESS reporting team. It has been an amazing experience working as a STEP intern for San Mateo County.
My name is Leslie. I am the STEP intern program coordinator. I'm kind of beginning my journey to my career path because I'm interested in becoming a social worker. I want to actually have successful outcomes with these youth. I want them to succeed, because they were put, in a different lifestyle than other people, why should they have to pay the price, and just make life better for someone else.
The most rewarding part about my internship is being able to make a difference to the community and be able to give back. During my STEP internship, I've been learning to be able to time management my time, being able to keep on track with deadlines. Also, I've been working with being organized and have like a special structure to be able to complete my assignments on time.
I think the most rewarding would probably be the fact of me just kind of being able to come into the county industry and just kind of being able to see how things run, you know, firsthand.
Coming from the food production, working in food production where it was like I didn't have the same opportunities that I'm getting in the STEP internship program. Working and having this experience is gonna help me on my future because my major is to become a registered nurse and work in the emergency room because I wanna make a difference and help others in need. It's helping me grow up and become a better person. It's been a great experience. They are giving me all the things and opportunities I can take, and it's been amazing working as a STEP intern.
I definitely think the internship is awesome. I feel that it's kind of a more at ease, you know, internship that allows you to kind of begin your professional experience and just kind of allows you to go through these, you know, kind of mini trials where it's going to be okay to make your mistakes, you know, and you have your fellow interns that are there to help you as well.
I learn something different every day.
So as you're aware, the STEP internship program won a CSAC Challenge Award, and it's really a testament to your board and the county manager's commitment to make sure that we have improved outcomes for our foster youth. And I'd just like to share a quick story. Last week, I came out of the elevator on the 5th floor, and one of our STEP interns, she was with us for the very first program, I believe, Jaslyn Lamadora, was at the front desk excited to share some news. And again, she was at the very beginning. She had gone, after our program, she had gone on to UC Santa Cruz. She graduated. Then she went to University of Chicago, and she graduated with her MSW, and she's now hired, her news was, she's been hired by HSA as a policy analyst. So what could be better than that, right? Yeah.
Nice job.
So volunteers are another piece of our menu. Volunteers get citizens interested and engaged with government and hopefully mitigate what John had talked about, that lack of confidence in government. We're working with a committee of volunteer coordinators throughout the county to see about using one central system to advertise and track volunteer hours so citizens can see all the various opportunities that are available. We also hope to produce an annual report that tells you about the contributions and the hours that our volunteers give to our county. And then our final work delivery model is self-help, and it's also about fostering civic engagement. We include this in our work delivery options because it represents another way in which the county is kind of adapting to the changing attitudes of society. People want to be involved, they want information now, and they want transparency in government. We're doing this both internally and externally. Internally, the county HR developed a mobile app for managers and supervisors, so all HR information is right at their fingertips. We also, as you know, went to Workday as our payroll system. It's cloud-based, allows county employees 24/7 access. I believe there's several departments now that are creating mobile apps. And in conjunction with ISD and employee volunteers, we have hosted 2 hackathons. One was just this past Saturday at GSV Labs. Supervisor Slocum was a judge, and even our county manager's retriever, Bo, got in the act, right? These were day-long events where individuals and teams from the San Mateo community came together to design and create application that drives a need for the community, and there were some pretty impressive ideas. And I want to also say that the employees that were working on the hackathon and volunteering included regular, limited term, and interns. And under our previous model, we wouldn't have had the capacity to do that work. So what were some of the challenges? With any big change effort, there are going to be challenges. For the Agile initiative, there was no playbook. There was no model for us to emulate and learn from. We couldn't anticipate everything, and at some point we need to, as Nike advertised, just do it. So we jumped in. And so there were bumps along the road. The utilization of term and other models was another challenge, trying to determine when it made the most sense, when and where. And as with any change effort, you can never communicate enough. As an example, folks still call limited term employees agile employees. We're all agile employees. It's an agile initiative. So let's talk a little bit about the results. We had 3 pilot programs. One was the Workday Implementation, HR Rotational Program, and the Fellows program in the County Manager's Office. Workday was a success. Workday used almost all of the different work delivery models: contractors, term, interns, regular. The fellowships, obviously a success. The county managers, they first brought in Jason from ICMA, and it was such a success that they stole Rolando from Parks. So that definitely worked well. And the HR rotational program, it's been so fascinating. It was 3 positions that were supposed to rotate into different programs, divisions each year. They keep promoting into regular positions. We can't keep them as term employees. So I will say, and to echo what Louise talked about, there's been 26% of our term employees have transitioned to regular employment. So it definitely is that really valuable talent pipeline. And then finally, if those term employees would have been regular employees, we would have been spending an additional $2 million a year in defined benefit contributions. So kind of what is the next, what has Agile organization done? It's changed the way we deliver work. Again, it's created opportunities throughout all levels of the organization. You heard from Louise that term is also used for work out of class opportunities for regular employees where they can build skills. And it's established some very valuable talent pipelines. I think overall Agile has helped us become a more effective organization. In terms of next steps, we're going to continue to expand the work delivery models and tools available so that hiring managers can make the best decisions about what model to use when. We'll continue to evaluate through focus groups and surveys. We'll make adjustments based on what we learn, and we'll further refine and identify the factors for success. So some thank yous. First of all, thank you to John for your vision of the Agile initiative, truly, and for your board for approving the pilot program. I want to thank the steering committee, some of them who have been working on this for 4 years. They include the entire county manager's executive team, county council, John Byers, Paul Okada, John Walton, Rocio Kirkson from our office. I want to again thank Jeffrey for all of his work. I want to thank Julie and Daniela for the awesome presentation. And I'll conclude by saying I believe that we've really just begun to see the strengths and the benefits of the Agile organization. I'm sure that we're going to be reporting future successes to you as we continue to keep our workforce in our county at the leading edge of positive change. And so with that, I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Donna. Comments, questions?
No, I just really appreciate how creative you have been, and especially like to work with foster kids. I was really, I have a particular interest in that, and I think we all do, is have a particular interest in foster kids. They are really our responsibility. So it's really good to see how successful you've been. So I just really appreciate your creativity. So thanks for the work that you and the whole team has done.
Great, thanks.
Supervisor Pine?
Thanks, Donna, for the presentation. Two quick questions for you. So with the 160 term employees, have we tended to attract younger people into those positions, or people who are coming back to the workforce? I'm kind of interested in kind of the demographics of who's taking these jobs.
So the average age of our workforce now is 46. The average age of the term employees is 39. So I think that says that we've attracted, across the board, we've attracted younger as well as, second career, et cetera, people that are changing careers. So again, younger is a younger demographic, but when we look at the term workforce, there's people in all generations.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And do you have a sense for what, the number of term employees we might have in, the next year or two? Do you see this, how do you see this number changing?
Yeah, I see it continuing to grow. I can't imagine that it would increase to any more than 10% of our employee population, which would be, a little over 500. But I do see that departments are continuing to request additional term employees, that it's been a really a good model for them.
I particularly wanted to compliment the fellowship program, and I think that's been very successful in bringing young people into government. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, government is much maligned, and it's not, you're not bringing a lot of the best and brightest, and this is a good way to kind of try to get some of those folks here.
Absolutely.
So I appreciate that.
Okay, great. Okay.
Sure.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Donna?
Thanks.
Donna?
Sorry. President Slocum?
Yeah, thank you for the really great presentation. I think we all especially enjoyed the animated little, whatever those things, little bots, yeah. So
Thanks to Julie.
Whoever did that, thank you. I just had two quick questions. One, on I assume the 150 people that you're training for the libraries is related to the Big Lift and
Yes, it
related
is.
to summer learning program. And just maybe later you could forward a list of the breakdown of how many people at each library.
Sure.
Because, well, I'm curious
Yes.
that the kids get the proper support.
There are actually kind of two components, President Slocum. One is the 4 sites of existing preschool with summer learning programs, and then the county library will have its normal summer reading boot camp programs in the various libraries.
Yeah, thank you. And then I noticed on the fellowships, which are really important, and we've benefited greatly from that, there were no colleges from San Mateo County on that list, Notre Dame or Menlo College. And is there a reason for that?
Just so we are in discussions with Notre Dame. So we've reached out to them and we're talking to them as well.
Great.
So,
thank you.
okay. Thank you.
All right, thank you for the presentation. And we move on to item number 5, which is a resolution supporting the Montero Water and Sanitary District's request for a transfer of Caltrans bypass lands to Montero Water and Sanitary District. Supervisor Horsley.
Don't get up yet, Judge Kopp. You'll be up in a minute. In any case, I just wanted to give a little explanation of what this is. The bypass lands were planned in actually as an alternative. Well, there wasn't an alternative. They were the bypass lands that were going to replace Devil's Slide. And as we all know, what happened was it was a Think Tunnel campaign on the part of COSI people, and it was overwhelmingly supported by the whole of San Mateo County. And eventually what happened is we built the Tom Lantos tunnels. But the bypass lands were actually purchased by the state of California. And what they did subsequently is that a portion of them were turned over to state parks, really as a condition of building the tunnels. And there's some remaining lands that actually run through Montero and Moss Beach. And over the past, I'd say about a year or 2 years, I've been working with Scott Boyes in the back there and Judge Kopp and trying to figure out what to do with these lands, because the Montero Water and Sanitary District is really interested because of the fact that they have potential water on those lands. And so we have kind of come, and I checked with our Parks Department, are we interested in it? And they are not. We have more than enough properties and trails on the coast side already. But these lands really are really important to people on the coast side of keeping them available and open space. And so they have kind of, from, I don't know if Scott's going to want to talk, or Catherine Slater Carter, but they have committed to actually making sure that those properties are open to the public in terms of trails. So I am going to make a motion to actually approve this proclamation in the back here. Actually, it's not a proclamation, it's a resolution. It's a request for Caltrans to actually donate those bypass lands to the Montero Water and Sanitary District.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Yes.
So with that, I'm going to ask to both the directors and actually Clemens is Hellmeyer is also here. He's the general manager of the district. So why don't you guys come up here and accept this?
We also have two public speakers on this item.
Good morning. It's a pleasure to see you. I am honored as the designated speaker, and I thank all members of the board, and I thank Supervisor Horsley as appropriately the sponsor of the adopted resolution. And I refer Supervisor Pine to Daniel Webster, because this is a small district, but there are those who love it.
I appreciate that.
And Supervisor Pine will tell you the rest of the inside story, I'm sure. I have been designated probably because I had the honor of being given credit for legislation which expanded the one-time Montara Sanitation District into the Montara Water and Sanitation District, which was an interesting story in civic affairs. It has been a success, and water is a significant cause of concern throughout California. This district is no exception, and it is fortunate that this one-time promised right-of-way is available. It has been tested for water. Those tests have been successful in terms of showing the existence of water, and as noted by Supervisor Horsley, the approval of the Coastal Commission, the County Recreation and Parks Department, the use of this real estate for park purposes, for open space purposes, and someday a long-desired community center is a part of what I'll characterize as the bargain. So far, the proceedings with Caltrans have been satisfactory, lengthy but satisfactory. This resolution is important in terms of achieving a desirable transfer without taxpayer costs from one agency of taxpayer-supported government to another, a local agency which is satisfying all of its constituents. Thank you again.
Thank you. Catherine? No, it's okay.
Thank you. I can't begin to express the depth of my gratitude for this ability to work together with you to benefit not only Montara and Moss Beach, but everyone who comes to and enjoys the coast side. This is an area that is used already extensively by the community for all kinds of recreational activities. And I believe under our jurisdiction, it can be used in ways that are more tailored towards our community needs, in ways that the county parks and state parks cannot. So I look forward to working with the county on this and making this hopefully something that Caltrans can use as an exemplary way of disposing of and contributing their surplus properties back to communities, particularly for water supply and public needs. Thank you.
Thank you. Scott Boyd?
Good morning, President Slocum and honorable supervisors. It's just a happy day to be here. As Supervisor Horsley mentioned, we've been at this for some time, and the partnership that we've established with Judge Kopp and with Supervisor Horsley, with your staff, Chris. Thank you very much, Chris. And with Bijan Sartipi and his staff at Caltrans in Oakland, with the Montero Moss Beach Water Improvement Association, Gary Orhaftig, he and his the association that he represents have been at trying to improve our community with respect to water for decades. And we're right there along with Senator Kopp at the time, supporting his efforts to bring water powers to our agency. And it's been a real honor to work with all of you in serving and working towards serving the amazing communities of Montero and Moss Beach, and taking this essential watershed that was going to be a freeway, but has always been a watershed that our community has literally drawn upon. And now we are really excited about the possibility of getting this into stewardship, management, getting some good management of trails on this area, and seeing what we can do to further secure our water supply while everyone in the state is contending with the drier and drier conditions. Montero has been working diligently to secure water sources, and we are one of the few agencies in the state that's actually got an independent supply of water and a plan that shows that we have adequate sources. We've worked very carefully and long and hard with the Coastal Commission to make sure that our plans are achievable, and it's just been a tremendous honor. And thank you very much for this support today. As Judge Kopp said, this is a vital step in getting that support so Caltrans can work with us to wrap this up. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. Next speaker is Clemens Heldmeyer. Did I get that right?
Yes, you did. President Slocum, Honorable Board, thank you very much for considering and approving this item today. We've come a long way. Over a decade ago, we acquired the water system, and with that, we inherited not only a water system that was in dire need for repair, disrepair over 10 years ago. Tanks ran dry. We did a lot on that front. We essentially now have a state-of-the-art water system. On top of that, I think it was very important for us also to reestablish old friendships and establish new ones. And I wanted to thank Dawn for really taking a step towards us and really helping us work well together with the county. I wanted to thank your staff for preparing all this, helping us in this. The Caltrans right-of-way will, we also found new water sources. We established new water sources. Now we provide water through local sustainable sources. The Caltrans right-of-way will allow us to continue to do this in the future. So this is really a project for us that establishes water sources well into the future. I wanted to thank Quentin Kopp for his ongoing leadership and support for our agency. I wanted to thank my board for supporting what we're doing, and thank you very much for one more time.
Thank you. Any last words, Supervisor?
You know, I just know those I've scrambled up the top of those bypass lands myself. I really could see why people really opposed the development. It's unique views from the top of those lands. It just it would have been a tragedy to actually destroy it. So, looking forward to working with Montero Water Sanitary District, and it's been a pleasure over the last year working with you on bringing this to fruition. So, thanks for your work with us as well, and we look forward to the future.
Thank you. Any other comment? Nope. Okay. Item number 6 is a presentation of service awards at 1:30. We'll retire to room 101. Item number 7 is certainly an exciting item, has to do with the county logo, but with the prerogative of the chair, without objection, I'd like to move item 9 to the next topic that we discuss, if that's okay with my colleagues.
Yes.
Item 9 is the affordable housing impact fee.
Good morning, Mr. President, honorable members of the board, Mr. Maltby and Mr. Byers. My name is Peggy Jensen. I'm Deputy County Manager. I'm pleased to be here this morning with the multi-departmental team that has been working on impact fees for your board. I'd like to start the presentation by introducing our team, which includes from the County Counsel's Office, County Counsel John Byers, John Niblin, Tim Fox, and Rebecca Horton. They've been joined from the Department of Housing by Ken Cole and Heather Peters, and from the Department of Planning and Building by Steve Monowitz and Will Gibson. We've also been assisted by Josh Abrams, who's the county's 21 Elements consultant with Baird and Driscoll. So I'd like to start with a little bit of background about how we got here today on our affordable housing impact fee presentation and the presentation of an ordinance for your consideration and a draft resolution. Back on March 29th, your board held a study session on impact fees. During that study session, the decision was made to create an ad hoc subcommittee that included Supervisor Horsley and Supervisor Slocum. We have met with the subcommittee twice, and the subcommittee has developed for your consideration a proposed set of impact fees for various residential and non-residential types of development. In addition, the subcommittee asked staff to draft an ordinance that would establish an impact fee program and also prepare a draft resolution in which the specific impact fees for the different development types are itemized. Today we are potentially introducing that ordinance for your consideration, and the resolution, which outlines the impact fees, if this is something you want to proceed with, can be brought back to your next meeting on June 7th for consideration. So I'd like to turn to why we are considering affordable housing impact fees and why your board about 15 months ago included impact fees as one of the 29 elements in your affordable housing work plan. As we all know, San Mateo County is facing an affordability crisis. Rents and home prices are increasing at historic rates and also are at increasingly historic highs. And a substantial reason for this high cost of housing in San Mateo is the fact that many new jobs have been created between 2010 and 2014. 55,000 jobs were created in San Mateo County, while during that same period significantly less housing has been developed. That same period saw the development of only 2,100 housing units. That's a ratio of 26 jobs for every housing unit that was developed in the county. The important thing is, of those 55,000 jobs, only about half had incomes high enough to cover the market rate housing, to make market rate housing affordable for those new employees. That means that about 25,000 of those jobs had incomes that required some sort of subsidized housing, that people could not afford to purchase homes or rent homes at the current rates in San Mateo County. Which is why one important strategy for your board to consider to create more affordable housing are impact fees. Now, before I turn over the podium to Will, who's going to present the recommendations from the subcommittee, I'd like to point out that many jurisdictions in San Mateo County are either considering or have already adopted impact fees. 6 cities have adopted impact fees, and 4 additional cities, communities, are currently considering the development of impact or the imposition of impact fees. What that means is if the 4 cities that are currently considering fees are joined by the county, San Mateo would be the 11th jurisdiction in San Mateo County to adopt impact fees. And with that, I'd like to turn the podium over to Will Gibson.
Thank you, Peggy. Good morning, Honorable Board. So Peggy described quite clearly the process that has brought this proposal before you today, as well as the need that is driving the proposal. I'd like to first back up just a little bit and describe the legal basis for adopting an impact fee, the rationale for that fee for both non-residential and residential development, talk a little bit about the feasibility of a fee and what impact it might have on development in the county, how it would work with our inclusionary ordinance, and then turn to the specific details of the fee proposal itself. So, and we did not actually talk through this slide, so we're going to come back to this in a moment. I think this is out of order slightly. So turning again to the legal basis, by law the county can impose an impact fee on development if that fee is related both rationally and proportionally to the impact that is being addressed by the fee. And there is precedent for this. The county has imposed development impact fees for a number of other impacts, such as parks and roads and others. And typically what a jurisdiction does to establish the legal basis for an impact fee is to undertake a nexus study, which establishes the nature of the impact, the extent of the impact, and the fee level that can legally be imposed on that to address that impact. San Mateo County did participate in such a nexus study. We participated with 16 other jurisdictions in a multi-jurisdictional process, and the county's portion of that study examined the impact of residential and non-residential development, specifically on the need for affordable housing in the unincorporated portions of the county. And it did two things. It established, number one, the legal maximum fee that could be imposed based simply on the extent of the impact. And that fee level is quite high. Secondly, it established the amount of the fee that could feasibly be imposed, taking into account what impact there might be on development in the future. So the feasible fee level is based on a fee that would not significantly affect development rates in the county. And the proposal that we'll be discussing today is based on those feasible fee levels that were recommended in the Nexus study. And the Nexus study also goes into quite a bit of detail about the rationale for an impact fee on residential and non-residential development. Put very simply, that rationale is here. All new development contributes to a need for affordable housing. And like other fees, the county has the legal authority to impose an impact fee to address that need. However, for non-residential and for residential development, that rationale breaks down somewhat differently, so I'd like to walk through just both of those separate cases in a little bit more detail. Starting with non-residential development, this is fairly straightforward. New commercial development, hotel, office, and retail directly creates a need for new workers in the space that has been built and also workers to service that space. So new workers in new development need housing. Many of them, as Peggy mentioned, are lower wage workers who can't afford market rate housing. So the new development is creating a need for below market rate housing, but it's not paying anything to contribute to address that need. So an affordable housing impact fee would directly address the gap that's created in that situation. For residential development, market rate residential development, the rationale is the same, but the situation is slightly more complicated. And that's laid out here. So each market rate unit is providing housing, obviously, and it's housing that is for a very specific group. It's households that can afford the market rate prices that are being charged. However, the market rate unit and the households in it are also creating a need for services for work in the community, for work to service that unit, house cleaners, painters, landscapers, service workers for work in the community, teachers, childcare, auto mechanics, and a whole host of other workers that are demanded by each new housing unit in the community. And what typically the estimate is, if you put together all the kind of work hours that are demanded for all those, from each of those workers, a little bit of work here, a little bit of work there from each of them, in aggregate the estimate is typically one new unit actually creates approximately one full-time equivalent job. And those tend, again, to be lower wage workers who can't afford market rate prices. So the relationship there is a new market rate unit, despite the fact that it provides housing at market rates, also creates an affordable housing need that is not contributing to address. And to show another example that may go at that in a slightly different way, as the board knows, new residential development already pays some impact fees. It pays, again, road impact fees, sewer impact fees, school impact fees, other park impact fees. Those fees go directly to infrastructure. And so the units are addressing the infrastructural needs that they create. However, that infrastructure needs new workers both to create it and to maintain it. And the workers in those categories are typically lower wage workers who earn significantly less, and you can see that up here, significantly less than the $110,000 a year that's required to afford a one-bedroom apartment in the county. So the new market rate unit is creating infrastructural demands, but also a demand for workers who need affordable housing, and that need is not met. So the impact fee, again, would address the gap between the need for affordable housing created even by market rate residential housing as well as by non-residential development. Turning to the feasibility of the fee, so as I said, the Nexus study established two things: the maximum the county could legally charge based on the impact, and separately the feasible fee that would not deter new development in the county. Those are very different. The maximum level is very, very high. The feasible fees are much lower, and this proposal is based on those feasible fees, as well as a comparison with what other jurisdictions are charging and with the direction of the board and other factors. So the feasibility and the impact on development is already baked into the proposal that you see before you. And as Peggy mentioned, a number of other jurisdictions locally have already adopted these fees. Other jurisdictions in the Bay Area and California have done the same, and throughout the country. And so there's a significant amount of prior examples and research that shows that you can set the fees at a level that will not deter new development and will not significantly impact home prices or rents. And we're fairly confident that the proposal that comes out of the subcommittee has been set at those levels. Again, we have an inclusionary ordinance in the county. The inclusionary ordinance applies to multifamily attached for sale projects of 5 or more units, so condo or townhome projects of 5 or more units essentially, and it requires 20% of those units to be dedicated as affordable housing. That provision of direct affordable housing is much more effective than the collection of fees. So it's the intent that the inclusionary ordinance and the impact fee ordinance work together, and that any projects that are subject to the inclusionary ordinance would be exempt from the impact fees. So with that, turning to the specifics of the impact fee proposal itself. And the subcommittee's recommendations are broken down by development type. As you can see here, commercial development is broken down into hotel, retail, and office. Residential is broken down into single family and multifamily. And just to walk through those, starting with commercial, as you can see in the table here, the development type is in the left column. What the Nexus study recommends as a feasible range that won't impact development is in the next column. What other jurisdictions that are comparable are charging for a similar fee is in the following column. And we've relied on Redwood City quite a bit in this case because they very recently adopted their fee, so it's a contemporary example. The fee recommendation coming out of the subcommittee is in the following column, and any exemptions from the fee, if there are any recommended, are in the final column. So for hotel, the Nexus study recommended $10 to $25 a square foot. Redwood City actually charges $5 a square foot, and the subcommittee recommends $10, which is the very lowest end of the feasible recommendation from the study. For retail, the range is $5 to $10, and Redwood City charges $5. The subcommittee also recommends $5. And for office, the Nexus study recommended $25 to $40. Redwood City charges $20. And the subcommittee recommended $25, again at the lowest end of the Nexus study's range. And as you can see in the final column, for each of those project types, the recommendation is that the first 3,500 projects that are under 3,500 square feet would be exempt entirely. Projects over 3,500 square feet would be subject to the fee. Moving on to residential. Starting with single-family residential, for large subdivision projects of 5 units or more, single-family for-sale housing, the Nexus study actually recommended $35 to $40 per square foot. Redwood City charges $25, Daly City charges $18. The subcommittee recommends $15 a square feet, so slightly below some of the comparable examples, and below the Nexus study's recommendation as well. For single-family detached smaller projects of 1, 2, 3, or 4 units, which make up the bulk of the residential development that occurs in the unincorporated county, the next study again recommended $35 to $40 a square foot. The subcommittee actually came up with a significantly different proposal. The proposal was that the first 2,500 square feet of those units would be exempt from the fee entirely, and then a graduated fee structure, which increases with the size of the unit, would apply after those 2,500 square feet. And I'll walk through that proposal in detail in a moment, but I'd like to just finish up the other recommendations first and then go into that in some detail. Turning to multifamily residential, multifamily attached for sale projects of 5 or more units, again, condos and condominiums and townhomes, those are subject to the inclusionary ordinance, and so the recommendation is they be exempted from an impact fee. For attached for sale smaller projects, 1 to 4 units, the recommendation is exactly the same as for smaller single family projects. 2,500 square feet would be exempt, and then a graduated fee would apply after those 2,500 square feet. And for rental projects, so apartment projects, multifamily, the recommendation from the fee study was $5 to $10. Redwood City charges $20, but the subcommittee recommended $10, so toward the top of the Nexus study range. So turning just quickly to the graduated fee structure, and I'll try to make this as brief as possible, but it's a little bit complicated to walk through. So in the left 2 columns, you see the unit size brackets in square feet. And then in the following column is the fee for that square footage bracket. And so as you can see, from 0 to 2,500 square feet, units would be exempt. For the following 500 square feet, that 500 square feet up to 3,000 would be charged $12.50. For the next 500 square feet, the unit would be charged $17.50, et cetera, as the table goes on. So it works exactly like tax brackets. Only the bracket of square footage that you see on the table would be charged that fee. The next bracket would be charged the higher fee, and the following bracket the higher fee. So if you get up to, say, 4,000 square feet, you're not paying $22.50 for the entirety of your square footage. You're paying $22.50 for the square footage between 3,500 and 4,000 only, and then the lower fee for the next bracket down and the next bracket down. In the far 2 columns, you can see a calculation which just shows for informational purposes what those fees come out to if you average them across the total project size. So if you see 2,501 square feet, if you had a project that is a home of 2,501 square feet, you're actually paying for 1 square foot an impact fee. You'd be paying $12.50. That column that says 0.005 shows what that $12.50 is if you average it across 2,501 square feet. So essentially, per square foot, you're paying $0.005. Similarly, if you had a 3,000 square foot house, you'd be paying $12.50 for 499 square feet, the square footage from 2,501 to 3,000. In the far column, you see that it says $2.08. That is the average of that amount across the total 3,000 square feet of the project. And this is just for informational purposes because, well, sometimes the fees look high. When you average them across the total project size, they're significantly lower. At the bottom, you can see it caps out at 10,000. So actually 10,001 square feet and up is 1 cost per square foot, which is $47.50. We've shown an example in the far bottom right column of what the average fee is across 20,000 square feet, but that's for example purposes only. From 10,000 on up, it simply is a flat fee for anything that would be above 10,000. So this is, and it should be noted, so this is a progressive fee scale which benefits smaller projects. However, even if you look at the very top, 10,001 square feet, if you had a project that was 10,001 square feet, you'd actually be paying $25.61 per square feet in fees. That's below what the Nexus study recommends as the feasible range, which is 35 to 40, and it's exactly what Redwood City charges as a flat fee across the entire development. So it still remains below the recommended feasible range in the Nexus study, and it's comparable to other jurisdictions, even when you get up to the very largest houses. And I think that's demonstrated a little bit better in this graph here. So on the bottom in the x-axis, you can see the home size increasing. On the y-axis, the fee. And so the first 2,500 square feet are a flat line, which shows that it's exempt, and then it gradually increases as the size goes up. And you can see it takes us all the way to 10,000 square feet before we cross what Redwood City has as a flat fee. And just one final example to show how this would work out for various home sizes. A 2,800 square foot home would be approximately $4,000 in total fees. 3,500 square foot home would be about $14,000, and a 10,000 square foot home again comes out to about $25 a square feet, similar to Redwood City, below some other jurisdictions such as Mountain View, and it would be $256,000 in total fees. And finally, just a summary of the exemptions that are recommended. The subcommittee recommends that any units that are willing to provide affordable housing directly, affordable units directly, should be exempt from the impact fee. Any units that are low-income housing, by definition, should be exempt. Again, small commercial projects of 3,500 square feet or less should be exempt. Smaller single-family residential and smaller multifamily residential of 1 to 4 units should be exempt for the first 2,500 square feet. Tear downs and rebuilds of existing structure that don't increase the square footage of that structure would be exempted, and residential expansions and commercial expansions would be treated like the smaller residential and multifamily. So if you're expanding your residential, the first 2,500 square feet would be exempt. If you're expanding commercial and you were doing less than 3,500 square feet, that would also be exempt. That is the capsule summary of the proposal, and at this point I'd like to turn it back over to Peggy to talk about how the fees would be collected and allocated.
Thank you, Will. So by law, all funds that are received from an impact fee must be put into a segregated fund, a separate fund from other county funds, and that fund must be dedicated to affordable housing. Based upon current development plans, we anticipate that an impact fee might generate around $1.2 million a year for this dedicated fund. And after discussing this source of revenue, it was the recommendation of the subcommittee to consider allocating a portion of our impact fees to the HART program. The proposal is to contribute 50% of the impact fee revenue to HART. A couple of the thoughts around why this was a good idea was that this would then potentially leverage other communities to contribute their funds and also create funding, a larger pool of funding available for projects countywide as they became ready to go forward with the project. I'd like to now turn the podium over to Tim Fox, who's going to talk a little bit about the legal process.
Good morning. I'm here to explain the attachments to the staff report. As the board knows, the staff report had a couple of attachments, and it does require some explanation because we are here today presenting a draft ordinance and a draft resolution. Why the two vehicles? Why an ordinance and a resolution? Well, they accomplish slightly different things, and we did this in the same way that other jurisdictions have adopted these impact fees in order to provide maximum flexibility and responsiveness as the program evolves. So the first part is the ordinance, and we provided a draft ordinance for your consideration. The ordinance does a number of things. It defines all the terms that are in use throughout the program, both in the ordinance and the resolution. It provides that the program will be established and provides for a time, place, and manner for the placement, the payment, and collection of funds. It provides for several important administrative processes that give the ordinance legal protection against any kind of challenge by a person who doesn't want to pay the fee, and gives some flexibility about how the fee program is administered. It also provides that the fee amounts will be set by the board by resolution. And that explains why there's an Exhibit B to your staff report, the draft resolution. The ordinance itself doesn't impose the amounts of any of these fees. That instead is deferred to the adoption of the resolution, which we provided for you at the same time, but it could become a two-step process if the board so desires. And then the ordinance provides that exemptions will also be provided by resolution of the board. So the ordinance itself doesn't bake in any of these exemptions. It's instead established by the resolution because the resolution adoption process is more flexible for the board to respond to evolving needs. So now we turn to the resolution itself. The resolution references the ordinance, of course, and says that this is the resolution that imposes the fees that are provided by the ordinance if the ordinance passes by board action. It establishes the fee levels that Will was just talking about, so all the complex detail of how we calculate the fees, that's all in the resolution. So Exhibits A and B to the resolution establish how we calculate the fees for commercial projects, non-residential projects, and residential projects. It also provides a list of projects that are exempt from the fee. So the same detail that was provided by Will in his slide about exemptions, that's also in the resolution. It also takes action to adopt a board policy about the number of affordable units that a developer can provide in lieu of payment of the fee. So the resolution tells developers how many in lieu units they need to provide in order to qualify to be exempt entirely from the program because they're providing units instead of money. And then finally, and this is the most important part, the resolution can be amended to respond to any future needs or concerns as they arise. If we determine that the fees are causing an unintended impact on development, we can adjust them by resolution. If we find that the fees are actually not adequately developing sufficient money to address the problem identified by the Nexus study, we can amend the resolution. So the resolution provides much more flexibility going forward to make adjustments based on our evolving needs and as we develop an understanding of the work that the ordinance and resolution together are doing.
Can I just add one more thing? And this is reference to a slide that we skipped over. I'm John Niblin, and good morning, Honorable Board. I see if I can find the slide. I just wanted to make sure we were sort of crystal clear on what we're doing today, again, because it is, as Tim was pointing out, a two-document process, at least from the perspective of our County Counsel's office and what we were putting in front of you. We have, again, an ordinance, and it's our recommendation, or we've framed it for you such that you could actually introduce an ordinance today if you chose to. Of course, an ordinance under the government code requires 2 readings. And so the thought, again, was to again, allow the process to begin by way of an introduction of the ordinance. The thought being, at your next meeting, you could have your second reading on the ordinance, adopt it, and then at that time, if you chose to adopt a resolution, or perhaps give us some instruction even here and now to go back and do some work on a resolution such that the resolution that you're looking at 2 weeks from now will reflect kind of the full sort of preferences of this board. But again, our thought was that we could introduce the ordinance today if that was your choice, with the adoption of the ordinance 2 weeks from now, with the resolution itself adopted 2 weeks from now as well, with all the required notice taking place between now and then. Thank you.
So that concludes the team's presentation. We would be happy to answer any questions your board may have.
Thank you for the presentation. I move to board excuse me, comments and questions. Supervisor Pine.
And a couple questions. Maybe these are for Will. On the in the subcommittee on the going back to the slides with the fee calculations. I guess I'm looking at the single-family residential. Start with that one. Yeah. So if a developer wants to do a 4-unit project, say, and it says the first 2,500 square feet are exempt, is that for the whole project or for each of the 4 units?
Per unit is the current proposal. So 2,500 square feet of each unit. If it was 1 home, first 2,500, 2 homes, first 2,500 of each. And then the fee per unit would kick in on any square footage above that.
Because I wonder if it'd be more appropriate for it to be on the project.
That's certainly a possible structure. I think that could work it could work either way, on a project basis or a per unit basis. I think it might be appropriate to adjust the amount of the exemption in that case if you were doing it on a project basis, but we'd certainly be open to direction in that.
Well, I don't want to overcomplicate it, but it's one thing if you're going to, like we have a situation where someone like tears a home down and replaces it, 1 home, and we give them a 2,500 square foot exemption. But then, as we know, sometimes you have 1 home on a big lot, and then they scrape it, and they put 3 homes. So it doesn't seem like apples to, it seems like a little different. Maybe you could give that some thought.
We could examine both doing that on a cumulative project basis or adjusting, if it was the board's direction, to explore a different level of exemption.
I guess I would recommend it unless it becomes too complicated to articulate. Then a second question I had for you is on the next slide. tricky on that one. So with multifamily attached for sale, of course, with the larger 5 and above, that's inclusionary zoning. And then when you have 1 to 4, you get the benefit of the graduated fee approach.
Correct.
But with the rental apartments, it's kind of there's just one bucket there. There's the $10. So wouldn't we do the graduated fee for the 1 to 4 units?
I think we are treating rental apartments somewhat differently than for sale apartments. We could treat them differently with the 1 to 4. Rental projects tend to be either developed by larger developers, more on a.
You're saying that just never happens. People aren't going to build a 1 to 4 unit rental.
It's not very frequent. Okay. 1 to 4 units is almost always for sale in our county. It's pretty rare, and we felt it was appropriate just to take all rentals as a similar situation.
Okay, all right. One comment that I think came up the last time was, I think the city of San Mateo has some kind of provision where, or at least they're considering a provision where, if a developer is to, will build with prevailing wage, then the fees don't apply. And I don't know if the subcommittee gave that consideration, or obviously Mr. Fox has something to say about it.
I'm happy to report that we did hear that feedback from the March 29th study session, and we included in the resolution a provision that developers who agree to enter into prevailing wage agreements with the county will receive a 25% reduction of the otherwise applicable impact fee. So they're not exempt from it entirely, but the idea is the payment of the living wage to the workers that construct the housing somewhat offsets the housing impact to those workers, though not necessarily to all the workers that are generated by the creation of that housing over the long term. So we are doing the same thing that Redwood City did with regard to its prevailing wage.
Okay. And then finally, just a comment, and I'd be interested to see how my colleagues think about this. When in some of our cities that are mostly residential, and you have these tear down situations where you have like you have a relatively modest home, and then it's torn down in a big new home, 4,000 or 5,000 square feet. We're giving them. I'm not 100% sure they should get this exemption. Like for example, if I could waive for example, some of the communities are all residential. That's what happens, and if they're ever going to have an impact fee, that's the scenario where it would come up. So I guess I want to try to understand the exemption a little bit better.
So as the current proposal stands, if you tore down and rebuilt your house square foot for square foot, you had a 1,000 square foot house, for example, and you rebuilt it at 1,000 square feet, that would be entirely exempt because you're not creating an impact that's new. Your impact is the same as the house that was already existing.
It's really tied to the impact.
It's tied to the impact. So if you expanded your home, the impact would be on the new square footage. The fee would be on the new square footage, but we are giving them an exemption, again, of the first 2,500 square feet. Anything beyond that would be subject to the fee.
And that's on the theory that the first 2,500 doesn't cause the impact.
It's on the theory that for smaller projects of 1 to 4 units, those projects in and of themselves cause less impact, and we're trying to encourage units that are smaller, which also cause less impact. So it's a little bit of a cost benefit if you can encourage them to be within 2,500 square feet.
I think that does clarify my thinking that with a tear down, when you just replace it with one home that goes from 2,500 to 5,000, you should have the carve out for 2,500. But I think if you're tearing it down and putting up 4 homes, I really think the carve out should not be per home. Thank you.
Supervisor Tissier.
You might as well stay there. Actually, I was looking at those same 2 slides, but I kind of looked at it a little bit differently. When you talk about small condo and townhome projects, 2,500 is actually a pretty good size condo or townhome. I actually think for that and also the single family, even a 2,500 square foot home is a pretty decent sized home. And so your impacts could be parking issues and other things that you end up with. There's never just one person in a house or 2 people. It always tends to be a lot more. And I actually like the fact that either Redwood City, Daly City, I wouldn't go as high as those, but rather than doing a graduated fee and make it so incredibly complicated, I would be more inclined to include the first 2,500 square feet, but perhaps make it at a $5 or $10, because those are still decent-sized homes. And when we're talking about affordable housing, they're not going to be 2,500 square foot homes. So these homes will have an impact. And I actually think in both those cases there should be some fee so that we have ongoing revenue coming in to be able to build those affordable houses. That's one comment. My other comment is, and I don't know the answer to this one, what do we currently give Hart from the county? Do we have an annual contribution to Hart?
We have a dues.
We do, but it's fairly small. It's, the annual contribution is essentially for administration.
Right.
Okay.
It's about 20, 30,000. So Armando's here. He can tell you.
Yeah, that's correct. It's about 30,000 a year, and it's for administration.
Okay, great. I guess my comment on this, and maybe it seems a little bit selfish maybe, but I actually think if these funds are collected, they should come into the county, and if there is a project in Hart that we actually think is a positive, rather than already giving 50% of the money, I would suggest we keep that county pot and leverage it for either Hart projects or any other kind of project, so that at the end of the day, if we think they're positive for communities, or we can encourage communities to build in their communities, that we have a pot of funds that we'd be willing to help them with. That's just, you know, the way I look at it. I think we're going to a lot of trouble to do this. This will probably be somewhat controversial for people as well. And I think, you know, at the end of the day, we should be able to show what the county's willing to do as it relates to affordable housing, and do it. You know, it doesn't mean we couldn't give it to Hart, but we also could give it to a lot of others, but we're in total control of it. Those are my comments.
Thank you.
Supervisor Horsley.
Well, I don't have a lot of comments in the sense that I think Supervisor Slocum and I have been on this jobs housing gap task force for some time now, and we've talked to Josh Abrams a number of times and seen this presentation, and we're really probably part responsible for making all the recommendations that you see so far. So I don't really have a lot of questions on it. I would like to talk a little bit about Hart, though. One of the things that we found with our jobs housing gap task forces working with cities is that a number of them have either in lieu fees that they've picked up over the years, or essentially a variety of funds for affordable housing, but they never really knew how to put together programs. And so Hart really is kind of the one organization that works with all of the cities, with one exception, and does put together funds for projects. And so what we were trying to do by this recommendation of having 50% of it go to Hart is that we want other agencies to do similar kinds of things. We want the other cities that have affordable housing funds to actually pool them. So, for example, like let's take a small town, maybe Colma or Atherton. When they get put together impact fees or in lieu fees, they really do not have enough money for a project. The only way they could do a project is to consolidate with somebody else or work with somebody else. And so our intent here was, first of all, that the funds, you know, they're not going to go for administration. If they're for affordable housing, they have to be earmarked for affordable housing. But it was a way to encourage other cities and towns to actually cooperate and to collaborate and actually go across multi-jurisdictional boundaries. So another example is that one of the things that is actually all three supervisors were involved in that. The original Supervisor Groom, Supervisor later on Slocum, and myself were involved with housing in Menlo Park for veterans. So we had a small amount of money initially from Hart. That then was pooled with money from both the county as well as with the city of Menlo Park. That probably would not have happened had it not been for the fact that Hart had some of the initial money to actually get some of the initial projects started. So now we've got a project for 60 formerly homeless vets. So that was the intent of it. Isn't the, you know, we already have an affordable housing fund, and I think we've done really well with our, I guess they call them boomerang funds. So that was the intent, and I'd strongly encourage us to do just that. And if I might take the liberty of asking if Armando could talk a little bit about Hart, and you can sit down, Will, for a minute. And Armando is our newest new ED for Hart, and I have to tell you, I think he's done a remarkable job in a fairly short period of time. So,
Thank you, Supervisor Horsley, and good morning, board members. I had some prepared remarks that I was going to say, but instead I think I'll toss those and just address the issue of why HARD is important. And, I came from a background of consulting for cities where I frequently scratched my head as to why HARD even existed. I saw it as another layer of bureaucracy that had a lot of potential, but wasn't really coming out and doing much as it should be doing. And now that I am working for HARD, I want us to reach that potential. And one of the reasons why I believe it is important to consider HARD is that we are able to, as Supervisor Horsley mentioned, cities are sitting on a lot of money, very small pools of money in different cities, but a substantial amount if you put it all together. We are trying to get them not only to pool linkage fees, but other funds that they are holding currently that they are not activating. And we believe that by putting it in HARD, we can pursue housing opportunities much faster wherever there is the potential, where we have land, political will, and we bring the resources in to get projects done a lot faster and to be riskier and more innovative in bringing some of these projects forward. So, I understand the concern, and but I hope we can, going forward, we will be much more innovative. Secondly, by putting funds in HARD, we are also able to pursue money from other sources, from the private sector. Foundations, they generally don't give to governmental agencies. We are a 501c3 nonprofit as well as a JPA, so we can pursue funds. As soon as I leave here, I'm going to work on a $200,000 grant to get us for additional staffing. We will be able to work with school districts. Sometimes relationships between cities and their school districts are not that great. We can come in as a third party to help foster projects in those situations. We can also go to the private sector, the corporations, who will generally not give to cities and counties. We can go in and say, give us to us as a nonprofit agency. Cities are contributing to us, and we will be able to access their funds as well. So there's a variety of reasons why it may make sense to do that. And ultimately, either way, it's going to come back to support housing in the county. And I think your leadership and your consideration of linkage fees is tremendous. And you set a great example for the rest of the cities out there. So thank you so much for doing this, not just for HARD, but for housing in general.
Thank you, Armando. Supervisor Horsley, anything to add on to that?
No, I think did a nice presentation. Thanks, Armando.
Thanks, Armando. Supervisor Groom, any comments or questions? Nope? Okay. You want to go again?
And I'd have no problem with HARD. I guess the only thing I worry about is when you look at 1 year's would be $1.2 million, and you cut that in half, you have $600,000 on each. So you're kind of diluting the pot, so to speak. And that's the part that concerns me. It's not that they don't do a good job, but then I look at things like Midway Village. I'll just use that as they're talking about tearing that down and rebuilding the whole thing. If the county had a significant pot of money, that's a ton of affordable housing that we could be giving the money to directly, whereas I'm going to guess, other cities aren't going to want to contribute to that. It's because it's a huge project. I mean, it's a very huge project. So I use that as an example of where we could probably best use some of that money from a county's perspective in some of the unincorporated areas or some of the low-income areas that really need some renovation. I realize it happens to be my district, but it's the one that struck me because we're talking about not only tearing it down and rebuilding it, but even adding more units. So we're going to enhance things. That's going to take a lot of money. So that's why it's nothing to do with HARD. If at the end of the day everybody wants to put half to HARD, that's fine. I'm looking down the road at some of the things we're anticipating doing here in the county, which will probably be far more units than probably any cities are going to be doing in the affordable arena. And that's why I'm saying I'd like to keep it with the county, with the ability to leverage it if we choose to for any particular project that may do exactly what you're saying. So just my 2 cents worth. At the end of the day, my feelings won't be hurt if it goes to HARD, but I just think there's bigger things that we need to accomplish here, and that would be helpful.
Mr. President Slocum, I could ask a question. I see Bill Knack in the audience, and along with Mr. Knack, he and I were 2 of the original HART board members for a number of years until I came here, actually. And perhaps things have changed, and perhaps Mr. Sanchez will provide a new spark. But I didn't see a lot of sharing when I was on the HART board. I didn't see cities willing to put their money into a pool. You know, they all they all kind of kept it. So is there a new feeling at Hart now? Is there a new sense that there is a willingness to share money and to pool for one city's funds going into another city's project? Because I think that's kind of the heart of, no pun intended, of what Supervisor Tissier is concerned about.
Exactly.
Yeah, Supervisor Horsley, do you want to take that?
Well, I guess if you don't try to do it, it'll never happen. And so that's the intent is that, we've discovered that, like, for example, Portola Valley, I didn't realize they're sitting on several $1 million because of Blue Oak subdivision. And San Carlos is sitting on $7 million because of projects that they have in the city of San Carlos. So, they actually thought that they had to keep on accumulating more and more money so they could actually do a project. They did not realize that they could actually conceivably share. So we have looked at, we have to do some additional research, but we believe that, I don't know if Bill wants to talk or Mark Leach, but no, he doesn't. Okay, that's fine. But I just think that, it's not as if the money is going to go away. And if you wanted it to go to Midway Village and Hart is a partner, it could be a partner of that. I mean, I think that would be fine. I think it'd be a great idea. So it's not as if the money is going to disappear and not be available for a project in a city or another community, but it's just as a place to essentially park it. And I think if we're trying to demonstrate leadership through our Jobs Housing Gap Task Force, and if that's one of the things that may be coming out of it is the fact that a number of cities are sitting on projects. They may not have a project. In fact, a number of communities probably be happy to put someplace else. But so I think this is one of the things that's coming out of our study with all of the cities is that they do have some funds available, and we believe that there's really an appetite for conceivably sharing. So. So obviously both Warren and I are sitting on Hart, and we just think that we want to be given an opportunity to be able to see if we can actually work with other cities to actually share funds to actually be much more effective.
Yeah, I would just add on to that, Supervisor Groom, that I've been on Hart, I think since I came here. Supervisor Horsley appointed me to the Hart Board, and during those first year and a half, 2 years, whatever it was, my sense was as you were describing. And then I think a couple of things happened. One, Supervisor Horsley took over as the chair of Hart and infused new excitement and new leadership and sort of a new direction for the 21st century for Hart, what could be, not what was. And then I think the other thing that was very significant, as the supervisor mentioned, was bringing on the new executive director. I think that's made all the difference in the world, and Armando, I just think, is a great fit. And as was said, he's brought sort of renewed enthusiasm and vigor to that organization. He's got great ideas, and I think the board and its chair and the new executive director have reinvigorated, recalibrated, and are really ready to move forward. And I would just say that the idea is interesting, and I respect the idea, but I think what we're trying to do is demonstrate to cities that this is the new way. The new way is for us all to share. We're all in this together. There is no silver bullet. And wouldn't it be grand if we could pool a certain amount of money from places like Portola Valley that have these funds just sitting? So I don't,
And one thing we could do is take that approach for, say, the next 2 years and reevaluate it. I agree that I think it's a promising concept, although unproven. I'm trying to think about how like Burlingame would. Well, it really has to be you have to have a situation where you're not generating that much money, because if you are, you're gonna keep it, I think. So it's I guess be interested, maybe not, but that's the candidate, or you're a town that doesn't particularly encourage a lot of development, the hill towns, for example. So there's some opportunity there so I think it's worth giving it a go. You know, if no one else does it, and I don't see why we would do it, but maybe we give it a try.
Yeah, I think so.
But but do it for 2 years and come back and look at it.
That's good. I'm gonna, yeah, that's a good suggestion. Thank you. I'm gonna try to wrap this up. It seems like the Supervisor Pine's comment was on the units in the 2,400 square feet. Is that it? And that was an interesting idea, I thought. I don't know what everybody else's feeling is, but
We also had, to Tissier's point, about taking a different approach.
The 2,500 square feet.
Yeah, we would charge a fee.
Yep.
Yeah.
Just because that's a fairly decent sized house.
Yeah, I
And
think that's right.
a townhouse, so
Yeah, we could.
then you're guaranteed some dollars.
I think that's right.
Yeah, if we can get some at least a majority consensus on those two items, then we can bring back a resol that reflects that.
I think we have a consensus.
Okay.
I think it's there.
Well, then
for
I'll
those two
I'll
items.
give in to Hart.
Okay.
That's a
With,
deal.
with a 2-year revisit.
Yeah.
So what did we just on the second point? What did we just agree to? Not the heart, but on the 2,500 versus graduate.
Taking a look at putting some fee structures,
That'd be
put a
low.
fee in there, low, but just that we do get something out of those
Okay.
first 2,500.
All right. So there's and then giving, and then my point was
Yes.
treat. Okay, we got that.
Okay.
Very good.
So I'll make the motion with the introduction of the ordinance establishing the Affordable Housing Fund or impact fee on residential and non-residential development projects in the unincorporated areas of the county. Do I fit? You want me to say the rest too?
Together with those three.
With those three caveats, essentially that we would change for residential, we would have a fee, would be a small fee that we'll revisit, and with Hart would be a 2-year interim project to see if we're able to generate sharing with other
I
cities.
didn't think that was part of the ordinance, so
Yeah,
I think that's the
that's the
next step.
resolution.
I think what you're doing today is you're going to introduce the ordinance, which is sort of provides the legal foundation and framework, and then I think you're giving guidance to staff to come back with a resolution in 2 weeks, along with the adoption of the ordinance. So I think really what we're looking at is an action on introducing an ordinance, and then direction to staff to bring back a resolution reflecting your modifications today.
Through the chair, if I could, for staff's clarity, is the proposal that we would apply for that first 2,500 square feet a flat fee and then have the graduated fee, or simply impose a flat fee on all square footage that was significantly lower than the proposal?
I was suggesting just a flat fee.
Just a
in
flat
general,
fee,
'cause I
okay.
think you're going to find
Just
more
for our understanding of how the structure would work.
Okay.
And we can easily come back with such a proposal.
So
So I think we understand the motion with my
was there a
clarification.
Second? I don't think so.
I'll second.
Okay. There's been a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes. Thank you. Does anybody want to take a short break, or do you want to keep going?
Real short.
Real short. We're going to take a real short break.
Oh, boy.
I apologize. I guess we had 4 speaker cards on the impact fee item, and I'd like to call these people up to speak. First, Michael Lane, if he's still here. Okay, all right. Gina Zari, followed by Judy Taylor, followed by Nevada Merriman.
Supervisors, I just wanted to state the record, I'm, as you are, on the Closing the Gap Task Force, which every month we come together and try to bang our heads together and figure out a way to fix our our rental problem, our affordable housing problem. And I just wanted to put it out there that anything you do to raise the cost of housing will impact all levels. That's how the housing market works. So anytime you raise the cost of housing for any individual piece, whether it's higher income homes, lower income homes, it's going to negatively affect the affordability. And it will also affect the affordability of renting. So I just wanted this body to be aware that that's what also happens when you pass an impact fee. It will raise the cost of housing. Thank you.
Thank you. So you didn't find Michael Lane?
We did find one speaker, and she is here. Yes.
Yep. Okay.
Good morning, President Slocum and members of the Board of Supervisors. This is the first in my career to see such a level of zeal for affordable housing, and so it's a great pleasure to watch as your deliberations led to a conclusion that I'm very much in support of. And I am also going to toss aside my prepared remarks and just say that there's just one little detail, that the terms of the loans really do matter when it comes to making the products something that's usable for groups like Mid-Penn and I assume the other affordable housing groups that work in this county. So if there is an opportunity to work closely on some of the technical assistance type details of that, with either the County Department of Housing or HART, both of whom we have tremendous confidence in, we would be very welcome to participate in that, or eager to participate in that. So thank you for your leadership on this, and I think that it will really bring a great tool to the county so that you can do more. Thanks.
Thank you. Is Judy Taylor?
Good morning. I thought I had time to run out there real quick. Do I have a time limit here?
2 minutes.
2 minutes. Okay, I'm here representing Sam Carr. First off, the work that has been done, it's obvious that a lot of work and a lot of thought has gone into this. And this is a done deal, and I recognize it. But at the same time, it would be good to take a step back and look at this philosophically. We're in this mess that we're in because of decades of NIMBYism. I don't have to take care of this. Somebody else can take care of it. It'll take care of itself. I have got 40 years of experience in and around building on the coast side. And one of the things that continues to strike me is that the people that are actually in the trenches that can fix a lot of problems are the last people to be talked to. Our problem is not going to be resolved by people that work in these buildings here. The engine of the American economy, the drive in our society, has always been the small business people. And I would warrant that if you put a group of my contractors in a room together and say, what are your impediments to building affordable housing, and what can we, the county, do to make it easier for you to put real affordable housing on the books right now, you would be astounded at the ideas that you would come up with. One is you take what a single family and an in-law unit uses in resources, you translate that to tiny homes, then you do an ordinance that says anybody that wants to do 3 tiny homes or 2 small homes on an infill lot, you've got the skids greased, and you can build that tomorrow without changing lots of other things. That puts affordable housing stock on the ground. It does it in a way that doesn't cost you folks money. It puts my contractors to work. It promotes diversity in my community. Then what you do is you take another group and you ask for some attorneys and some finance people to meet, and you figure out how to put the instruments in place so that people, our teachers and firefighters and those folks, can afford to own those houses. This is a done deal. It looks like low-hanging fruit. It looks like it's not costing anything to make this happen, but it is. When you put these fees into something, first off, in the staff report, and thank you for your indulgence on time, in the staff report it says that the lot owners are going to be basically negotiated down in order to pay for these fees. That's not how it works. I've got a meeting tomorrow afternoon with the lot owner. He's not going to take $15,000 less for his multifamily lot because the builder is going to have to pay you that much in order to put 5 one-bedroom units there. So, anyways.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I actually have 2 last points, if I could. The first point is that after hearing from the speakers, the testimony. Do we want to revisit the vote at all? Has any of the conversations swayed?
I wouldn't want to revisit the vote, but I would think that we should be interested in taking Ms. Taylor's suggestion, perhaps, and while we begin our whole process of going through trying to build more housing, that we do some focus groups with the categories that she suggested and see what we learn.
Okay, thank you. Supervisor Pine?
Yeah, I'll just add that I gave a lot of thought to the impact fee on the new housing, because it took me a while to kind of think that through on the theory that all housing is good housing. But why I became comfortable with what I think are these modest fees is that it's that the market, it's just not the market really can't produce the affordable housing without tremendous zoning changes and incredible high density. And so the market can't really address that, and therefore this modest intervention, I think, is a small step helpful, a small way helpful.
Thank you. Supervisor Horsley, anything else? Oh. So let me just thank, if I could, Peggy Jensen and Will Gibson and the rest of the team. I felt like, it was really a quality product, and a heck of a lot of work went into it, despite the fact you only had 2 meetings with the two of us. I know that there were hours and hours of work that went into all this. And when Mr. Gibson presented to us at the subcommittee level, it was understandable, it was clear, it was well researched, it was thought out, there was balance to it. And I think on behalf of us all, we just really appreciate the work that went into this, so thank you. All right, now with that, we'll get to item number 7, which is the county seal and logo.
Thank you, President Slocum. I will do my best to make this an interesting topic. I will share one interesting kind of fun fact that I had shared with our county manager at a break, and for you historians on the board, again, interested in making this a colorful topic. Recently, the city of Houston tried to trademark their seal, and the Court of Appeals rejected that effort. And they pointed to a law that goes all the way back to our treaty obligations at the Paris Convention in 1883, which arguably, I guess, prohibits municipalities that are instrumentalities of the federal government from trademarking their seals. And since then, the Lanham Act has been passed by the federal government, and it creates an exemption. So municipalities are not, by the treaty of 1883 and the Lanham Act, allowed to trademark their seal or insignias or flags. So anyway, it's a fun fact for you there.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Byers.
Okay.
That was very interesting.
So moving on, I do recommend. I've already lost my crowd here. It was effort anyway. Good effort. I recommend board approval today on the introduction of this proposed ordinance, which does purport to regulate the use of our county seal and logo. Hopefully, the proposed ordinance is fairly straightforward, and I think it's evidence of good government. I have over the years, and our office has over the years, received phone calls. We've received notice, and then we've had to make phone calls of incidents where members of the public have used our county seal or logo without authorization. So we've been able to make phone calls and ask that they remove those references, and we've been able to do so without further activity or incident. But I've often said to myself, wouldn't it be nice if we had a set of rules not only for county government but for the public, so that we all have the same set of rules that we can abide by. And in fact, many counties have a similar ordinance, and frankly, it's somewhat surprising that we do not. So anyway, if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them, but I think it's relatively straightforward.
We do have some questions.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'll move the introduction of an ordinance adding Chapter 205 to Article 2 of Title 2 of the San Mateo County Ordinance Code regarding use of the county seal and logo, and waive reading the ordinance in its entirety.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, Mr. Byers. Now we'll move on to item number 8, please. Thank you.
That's fast.
Good morning, President Slocum, honorable members of the board, Mr. Maltby and Mr. Byers. I'm Louise Rogers, Chief of the Health System. This item is for an appropriation transfer request that will support San Mateo Medical Center's intergovernmental transfer. We sometimes refer to that as an IGT, under the new 1115 Medi-Cal waiver for the first 3 quarters of this fiscal year 15-16. This component of the new Medi-Cal waiver is a program called the Global Payment Program. And the Global Payment Program replaces something that we've always referred to as DISH, which is the Uncompensated Care Program that public hospitals have been participating in across the state of California. The Global Payment Program replaces the DISH program, and essentially what it does is it creates a statewide pool of dollars that public hospitals access to provide services to people who still remain uninsured after the Affordable Care Act. And in order to participate in this program and access the additional federal funding that's available through it, we have to advance non-federal funds via an intergovernmental transfer. Now, the details of the 1115 Medi-Cal waiver program were not negotiated or completed between the state and the federal government until the end of December 2015, and we received notice of our obligation under the Global Payment Program and the need for this intergovernmental transfer in this amount on May 6th. And essentially what this requires us to do is send the Department of Healthcare Services $44 million today, May 24th, in order to receive $59 million back by June 13th for net revenue of $14.8 million, which is a part of the medical center's ability to operate and provide care to uninsured members of San Mateo County. So that's my summary of the program, and members of my finance team and I would be happy to answer any questions that you have.
Thank you. Questions? Supervisor Croom.
No, but I was going to make the motion.
Okay.
I move approval of the appropriation transfer request for an intergovernmental transfer for the Global Payment Amount program in the amount of $59,114,491.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'll ask you a question later.
I'm available.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Louise.
Good deal.
That's a good deal. I don't quite, yeah, whatever.
It's government money, you know.
Item number 10 is a Measure A matter. County Manager Mulvey.
Mr. President, members of the board, item 10 is a recommendation to appropriate $18,152 in a one-time grant to the Peninsula Family Service Organization for the projects and the acquisition of equipment that is listed in the agenda item. If you have any questions or comments, I'll be happy to answer them.
Questions? Nope. How about we need a motion, right?
I'll make the motion to pass a resolution authorizing this one-time $18,152 grant to Peninsula Family Service.
Second.
All those in favor?
Yes.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Item number 11 is the County Manager's Report, which is number 10 for 2016.
Mr. President, members of the board, just a few quick items on number 10. First of all, the sheriff has indicated that he's going to reintroduce the roving day shift patrols on patrol at various at the county government center campus and increase it in the future to swing shift and evening hours. Let you know that we have received some awards of grants from HUD for homelessness, including vouchers for 19 chronically homeless individuals and increasing the total amount of continuum of care funding to approximately $19.5 million. Worthy of note, I think, is the fact that in a recent report by the California Budget and Policy Center in conjunction with the Women's Foundation of California, that San Mateo County ranks number 2 overall in the state in terms of attending to factors that are important to women. Just to also note that the Department of Child Support Services has received
two awards. One, the Collaboration Award, and the other, the Outstanding Group Achievement Award for its operations in the past fiscal year. And finally, to let you know that we're in the process of analyzing the governor's May revise. We will be bringing a full analysis back to you on June 7th. As you know, the recent receipts in the state are about $400 million below projections, and there is certainly some indication in what we've seen so far in the May revise that it could adversely affect the county's behavioral health funds by up to $2 million. We're continuing that analysis and have a full report for you on the 7th. If you have any questions or comments, I'll be happy to try to answer them.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Baltby? No. Okay. We'll move to, thank you, Mr. Baltby, for the report. Item number 12, board member reports. Supervisor Groom.
President Slocum, I have a bunch of adjourn memories, but I think due to the time, I'll wait till the next meeting.
Very well. I have no report. Supervisor Pine? And I have no report. So with that, we'll reconvene at 1:30 in the room 101 for Employee Award Recognition Program. Thank you.
After which the meeting will be adjourned. There's no closed session today.
Right. Okay. Thank you. No.
How about that?